Hey everyone, my name is Jeremy, and I'm going to have a conversation with my mom about forgiving. I feel as though this topic should be discussed because it can keep you from so many great things when you don't forgive. So allow this conversation to be something that you take in small bite-sized chunks and allow this conversation to give you different perspectives on why you should forgive. I also want to take this time to use a singing bowl specific to the heart chakra to help you. May peace be with you. So thank you, Mom, for joining me. I thought it would be a great way for you and I to spend Mother's Day together and talk about a topic of forgiveness. And when I went on my walk, I was thinking about all the reasons that someone should forgive. And I thought that our conversation might start or encourage somebody to forgive others and even themselves. I think our life experiences individually and together show why it's important to forgive because there's a lot at stake. So I put the topics not necessarily in order so we can just talk about them freely. Nothing that we have to do all rigid and structured. Cool?
Cool.
All right. So forgive so that you can be free. What does that mean to you?
So when you have not forgiven someone, it holds you hostage in a sense. It can keep you from life itself. It can keep you from sleeping. It can keep you from moving on from that place where you was hurt.
Yeah.
And so when you say you be free, so it's not necessarily, well, I'm going to say it's letting go. Just let it go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think it's sometimes like in my own experience, when I've let go, it's like a weight kind of lifted off of me,
Right.
So I think that for somebody who's trying to forgive, that you should think about all of the impacts that it has on you versus trying to prove that somebody was wrong,
Right.
Yeah. Forgive so that you can make room for better things to come in your life. What you
That's
think?
true. That's true because when you haven't dealt with the past, not knowing it, it can impact your current situations.
Oh yeah, that's a good call.
So it definitely can. So because it took me a long time to realize why sometimes I was seen to be short fused. So and just going through a therapist and then just talking about it and just looking back at my life and the things that happened. And I used to deny the fact that a friend of mine used to tell me, you're the way you are because of what happened to you in your past. And I just disputed that and disputed that and disputed that until one day it just looked me in the face and said, well, think about the things that you do and the way you handle situations.
Yeah.
And so, and also with forgiveness. So even if the person doesn't offer their apology, you still have to let it go. So you letting go doesn't mean I have to be in your face or in your space. And it took me a long time to realize that I have to, because I forgive or let it go, and now I have to pretend it never happened. And so to pretend it never happened was hard for me to do.
Yeah. And then like when you forgive, because that's when you don't forgive, it's like you're occupying space in your life of negativity or whatever emotion that's tied to what happened to you. So then there's really no room for other stuff to come. You know, like if you were hurt by a relationship and you're holding on to the fact that you got hurt and what the person did was so wrong, there's no way in the world that you can go into another relationship. There's no space for that new relationship to come in.
Right.
You know? So yeah, you're right. Your things that have happened to you in the past truly do impact how you operate and interact with people on a daily basis, you know? And then like I'm learning that people and circumstances are often disguised as lessons. And it's up to us to see past the circumstance and the person to identify the lesson and learn the lesson and apply it in our life going forward.
Yeah, but when you're in a certain place, it's hard to see that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's hard to see that. So you look back now and say, you know, because I had a lot of hatred built up in me, a lot of hatred. I always explain it like my heart felt like it was when you blow a balloon up to the point that it pops. I was right at that point where my heart was gonna pop. That's just how I felt. And I carried it around a long time. And I used to go in on prayer on Sundays and standing before the altar. My heart was still just at a point where it was about to bust, explode. And I don't remember exactly when it was, but at some point I did get that relief. You know?
That's when I came into the picture.
Yeah. But honestly, having you in my life did make a big difference. Because coming up not feeling love, I just always wanted somebody to love me without any conditions. Conditions. So whether they say when you don't plan not to have a child, you don't plan to have a child. So you came along, you know, and even though it was scary after I realized, I'm getting ready to have a child, you have kept me alive in so many ways and kept me out of jail. Like I used to tell people, I said, you know what? Y'all see my son, y'all better thank him. Because I really could have gone ballistic on y'all, but because I got a child to take care of, you know, I can't do that.
Well, I'm glad that I came along to save a lot of people.
Yeah, you did. You saved a lot of people.
So forgive because what has happened is done, and you cannot change the outcome by wasting energy on the past and not focusing on the present. I think we kind of touched on that because what's done is done. We can't go backwards in time and change the outcome to change the present. You have to focus on what's happening in the present in order for you to truly make good decisions to impact your future, you know? And if I'm allowing that negativity in my space, then that's where I'm going to make my decisions out of, you know? So that you got to forgive because that's the lens or that's the mindset that you are living out of. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because you can't see past it. It's kind of like it's a cloud that's forever over you.
That's a good example.
And even though you don't realize it, it's there. It's hovering you. People don't see it, but you probably don't recognize what it is, but it's just something that's there that you can't get out that spot. You know? So you're just sitting there. And, you know, people always say, I want to do it over. You can't do it over. There's no way you can do it over. There's no way you can go back and do something different. You know, there's no way. And I often hear people say that life is just a rehearsal. No, it's not. This is it. This is it. You don't get to go back, you know. You don't get to go back. Not in the physical sense, not even in the spiritual sense. This is it. And I thought about just last week, I was like, you know what? Each day is a day in history. Each day that you wake up, you can't redo a day. Even though the week keeps repeating, you can't repeat a day. It's impossible to repeat anything in life.
Yep.
You know? Then I hear people say, you know, you never go back. And that's true. You can't go back. And so if you're always looking back, you know, you're going to run into or miss some things in your future because you're so busy concentrating on what has happened in the past.
Yeah.
You know, a lesson I of course I can say I wish I learned it earlier in a younger age, because I let a lot of things that happened in my life not temporarily push me off the track, but derail me altogether and never got back on track.
Gotcha.
You know? So things that happen in life is supposed to be just a little buckle, not to actually knock you off track.
Yeah.
You know, I know that now, but it did knock me off track.
Yeah.
And who's to say that I was supposed to take that track, you know, all the way to that destination? Maybe it was supposed to say, hey, no, this is the direction you go, but it is what it is, you know?
Yeah. Life always gives you people and circumstances to pull you closer to your purpose. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like that.
Yeah.
Forgiveness doesn't mean what was done to you was right. That for me, I think that goes back to what you were saying earlier, I believe. Like, when I forgive, it's not saying that the transgression that was done to me was okay.
Mm-hmm.
It just means I recognize this in the past and I need to go on about my business because life is short.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it took a while for me. Forgiveness is embracing that what happened was not to you, it was for your individual growth. That's something that's taken me time to accept and apply to, because it's like, when you, and that goes actually to the next thing, because not forgiving suggests you are a victim, which means you are powerless. So when you act as a survivor, you're taking your power back. You know, when you're saying,
Right.
oh, it's to me, you did this to me. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? It's almost like I'm, through that point of view or through that perspective, I'm giving everything to who did whatever to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm giving away my ability to stand up and say, okay, what you did was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I forgive you for it. I'm going to move on. So that way I can be the best me.
Mm-hmm. But in forgiving people, like I said before, I have to realize that I forgive you, but doesn't mean I have to be in your space, or I have to allow you in my space.
Yeah. You taught me to love from a distance. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. You can love from a distance. And sometimes I had the experience of telling somebody, you know, I love you the best way I know how.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know? So, and you have to, not unfortunately, but a lot of times you have to accept people for who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And when you accept a person for who they are, either you want to be in their space or you don't want to be in their space. It's just very simple.
Yeah.
You can't change them, no matter how you treat them. You can't change them.
That's good, because when I'm talking to somebody, I'm talking to where they are and where they can receive it in their mental ability, their spiritual ability, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
I might be operating from a level that's different from where they are. So I can't expect them, or they can't expect me to respond a certain way, because we're at different places. So that's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's
right.
good.
And then a lot of times and I always tell people, your life experience is not my life experience.
Yeah.
And vice versa, you know? But when people try to give you information that you're not receiving, they need to respect you enough to let you just give it to you, not force it on you. A lot of times we lose people when we're trying to force them to think like we think, you know, instead of just having the conversation and letting the conversation just kind of, you know, saute in their spirit and let them think about it. And when it's time to manifest, it'll manifest, which I think about a conversation that I had with a friend of mine when we were talking about you. I was like, a lot of things he told me, I'm like, said to myself, you crazy, you know, and, you know, and the more he talked, the more he made me mad, because I'm like, this is my child, that's not your child, you know,
right?
You can say that because your child, you're not doing this, or your child not this way, or whatever. You can say that, but and I talked to him, you know, some time ago about it. He was like, see, I told you, but see that I didn't want to hear it back then.
Yeah,
you know, I wasn't ready for it. You know what I mean? But you know.
Yep. That makes sense. You got to be, you have to be in the space or the mindset to forgive. And so does the person on the opposite side to receive it, you know?
Right.
Yeah, that's a good call out. So all of this, I think, leads to the last point. There is so much at stake. Life is short, period.
Mm-hmm.
Go on about your business, like Granny used to say, and be happy instead of resentful.
Yeah. That was one person that went on about her business.
Yeah.
She really did. And she knew who her friends were. She knew who her enemies were.
Mm.
But the thing I learned from her, she treated them all the same.
Yo, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Just because you smile in my face.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that you like me, and just because I smile in your face doesn't mean that I don't know that you don't like me.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
You know, they say keep your friends with your enemies, your friends close and your enemies closer.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd smile right with them like I don't know any better. So you know, you just have to do that. You know.
Yeah.
You know, all that comes about just in life, just listening and being open to what people are telling you or what life is trying to teach you.
Yeah. Yeah. Because again, life always gives you lessons disguised as people and circumstances. Mm-hmm. You just have to be in a place for you to see that, identify the lesson, learn the lesson, and apply it. So what would you say to your younger self as far as forgiveness is concerned?
To my younger self, I would say it's not worth it.
It's not worth it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Stay focused.
And why do you say that?
I say it's not worth it because I spent a lot of time in the hatred field. Mm-hmm. And I felt like while I was hating, I could have been moving on. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know? But I never had anybody to have these kind of conversations with, you know?
Yeah. Oh, that's good too. Yeah.
You know, that's always important because I always, and coming up at people, what we don't realize is the thing that we're missing in our life, we need to make sure our children don't miss it.
Yeah.
You mean, because I grew up, knew my mama loved me dearly, but didn't grow up with hugs, not until she got sick, you know? And then when she see me, she used to hug me and I used to hug her. And so I miss her hugs. And so I never want my child to go without a hug. You know what I mean? That's why I hug you all the time. I was like, you know what? It's nothing like a mother's hug. I don't care how many people hug you. It's nothing like a mama's hug, you know? Yep. And so I always wanted my son, children, or whatever to not go without the same, not to go out with the same things, not have the same things that I didn't have, that I felt like I, needed or whatever, Well,
I feel it.
You feel it? Good.
I feel it. What do you think the process is for somebody who's trying to forgive?
They have to go talk it out because sometimes when you're just talking it out, trying to throw it around in your head, there's some things that you may need to ask, questions you need to ask yourself that you, as a professional, you don't know. And so I had to go to a professional, not many visits. I think I went about 2 or 3 times. And she asked me some questions and I asked her some questions. And I always had a problem with looking people in the face. Mm-hmm. And so she gave me an exercise to do, said, when you go in the store, what do you do? When you go, you just go and get what you want and get out. Do you look people in the face? I was like, no, I just go and get what I want. And I just go on. She said, I want you to do one thing. She said, next time you go in the store, she said, I want you to look at 3 people and smile and say hello. She said, you don't have to let them in. She's the one that taught me. You don't have to let them in. Just speak and move. And needless to say, I enjoyed it. It was fun. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but first thing in forgiving someone, you have to say, why do you need it? Mm. Why is it important for you? Mm-hmm. Okay. Why is it important for you to forgive? Why is it important for you to talk about? Are you just talking about it to talk about the person? Or are you talking about it because you need to move on? Okay.
Reflection. Okay. Mm-hmm. So think about your intention, talk about it, and then be about it is what it sounds like. Gotcha. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Good. Any final thoughts you want to leave?
I would say this, and two things I think I always try to instill in you is number one, try not to hurt anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, try not to do anything that you can't live with.
Oh yeah, I remember that second one. Oh gosh, I'm not perfect. That's for sure. God knows I'm not perfect. And
it's
I had that thought always in the back of my head. I'm like, oh well, I'm gonna live with it now.
Because it's always you don't know these people dirty secrets until they make something out of themselves. And when they make something out of themselves, they're gonna say, "Oh, Jeremy who? Jeremy Bryan Wright? Oh, let me look him up. Let me see what he's about." That's what they're gonna do because we just nosy in nature. That's all.
Yeah. And one thing, forgive yourself. That's what I would leave everybody with. I had my checklist. Like by now, I was supposed to be somebody's lawyer or somebody's doctor, making over 6 figures, taking care of you, having a family, et cetera, et cetera. Right. And that didn't happen, which I'm thankful that it didn't, because almost it was kind of, I don't want to say a false life that I was going to try to live. But I forgive myself because I think we hold ourselves to such high standards. I had to go through the process of acknowledging that that's not me, grieving that that's not me, or that's not going to be my reality, and then embracing what my true reality is. And like you say, that was a path that I was not meant to go down. And I'm thankful that I've gone down the path that I have now, because I have all these life experiences to speak to help people, which is aligned with my purpose. So forgiveness of self is key, because you can't walk around in that cloud like you were talking about and expect somebody to love you when you don't even love yourself.
Or know who you are.
Or know who you are. So yeah, this is a good conversation. We're going to do this more often.
Oh, we are? Oh, okay.
So get used to it.
I enjoyed it.
Cool. All right. Well, I love you to pieces. Please forgive me for anything that I have done that in my past that may have impacted you negatively. And also, please forgive me for anything that I do now or have done in the past that may impact you or I or us in the future, which I'm hoping that grace and mercy will, cover me. So I love you.
I love you too, and it will cover both of us. And please forgive me if I didn't fill all the, how should I say it, all the shoes that you needed to be filled, or met all the expectations that you expect as a mom, or that you needed as a mom. I truly love you, and I still would wear a jumpsuit and a bald head and an ID number. Because you are definitely my life. I can tell you right now, if it wasn't for you, I probably wouldn't be here today.
Aww. Thank you, Mom.
Thank you, Jerry Bear.
All right.
All right.
I'll call you.
Okay.
All right. Bye.